All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another Week 9 edition of the NFL show here on the Mayo Media Network. We've got the SHIPIT Nation collaboration going on. As always, had the daylight savings time. Just messed with us a little bit here. Got a little bit of extra time to tinker today, but we're here now. We got the show. It's going to be a fun one. Going to break down all things Week 9, go game by game as we always do. We'll talk some roster construction, game theory, ownership, late steam, what the rest of the field's doing, how we can get a leg up. Coming off a massive week at SHIPIT Nation. SHIPIT Nation members just crushed. I think it was over $400,000 within the community. We posted a thread over on our X, FK Twitter. That's the new nickname for it. So you can check that out at SHIPIT Nation. If you guys want to become a member at SHIPITNation.com, the time to do so is now. Go to SHIPITNation.com. Use promo code MAYO. Gets you 10% off your payment, any of the memberships to try out. Hoopster, I'm going to start with you. I got you and my guy Title here with me. Big day. King of the Beach season. We're going to get to all of it, but how you doing, my friend? What's going on?
Yeah, doing well. A little under the weather, so the throat is it's I'm going to get through it, but it struggles to talk a lot here, so I might be limited on the amount of words, but we get an hour extra.
Got you covered, my friend. Got you covered.
Yeah, I know, man. You're probably licking your chops as soon as you heard Hoop's voice, a little raspy. You're like, fuck yeah, I get about 50% more words today. I know you love that. In terms of this slate, man, so we get the extra hour, which is huge. In terms of roster construction, going through, getting prepared. And then on top of that, there's no news that we're waiting on. I mean, anything that pops up from here on out is going to essentially be a surprise. We have all the important news for this slate. So there's a lot of time to go through, way ahead of schedule. Usually I kind of start to finalize all my teams right after the show. I think I'm in a pretty good spot in terms of what I'm doing today. I like where I'm at. I mean, you look at this slate and it looks nasty. It definitely does. We've talked about it on every show so far. On the Friday Cash Show, we're talking through it. I mean, it looks ugly, but I think there's some pretty good spots here to kind of, dive into, and nothing standing out as being over the top popular. I mean, we'll talk about Jalen Hurts, who I think is definitely the most popular quarterback. We'll talk about Alvin Kamara, who's probably the most popular running back. And then you got A.J. Brown, who's really the only spend at wide receiver now that Matthew Stafford has been ruled out. A really big hit to obviously Cooper Kupp in that passing game as a whole. So the spends are very clear. I think it's a slate where you can definitely leave some money on the table. If a couple of those guys underperform today, big salary on the table is in play. So I don't know, like the slate, excited to talk through it. And I have a couple final decisions that I'm going to be leaning on you guys for here today.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one to break down. I'll come to you in 1 second, Title. Before I do want to remind everyone some of the giveaways and how this show works. Very simple. Start smashing the like button on the way in. If we get to 500 likes, we give away an additional 200 at the end. After we get the engagement going early, usually around 200 or so, we give away $100 random. We have an extra 100 today. We ran a free roll in the Discord last night. My man Andrew got the job done and said right away, thank you, but no thank you. Let's pay it forward to somebody today. And I appreciate that, Andrew. And then I did put it in my post out there, and I talked about it on the Mayo show on Friday. Don't have the exact details yet, but just for those wondering, I did say this, and you guys know I've always done this. I'm going to continue to do it. I'm putting up to 30,000 of my own money for a giveaway for Mayo Media Network members and also SHIPIT Nation members. We'll see how the breakdown works, hopefully, when we get there. But we have a second and a third place trophy on the shelf. The first place would be for $300,000, but first we got to get there. Here's how it works. Today, King of the Beach, play in. Title has a seat. Many members have a seat. Our guy Marley, I've got 3. Lots of people are in there. If any of mine get through, you have to come top 75. Mayo has one as well, of the top 250. Any of mine get through, whatever one finishes the highest, I'm going to give away 10% of that money. So huge opportunity. If I won the $300,000, none of the TOC stuff would come with it, but you would have $30,000 giveaway on our hands here. And you guys know I did it last year for 5%, up in the ante this year. Very excited about that. So no details on how to get in yet, but just always appreciate your support, being here with us on a Sunday morning. We know there's lots of shows out there. This is the one we want you to watch. So smash the like, let's get these giveaways going. Title, my man, you got a seat in there as well. Excited to chat through this slate with you. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Doing well, and that's a really awesome, Tambo. I mean, man, up to $30,000, and yeah, you see second, you see third up there. First, right in that middle would look pretty good, and 3 tickets. You've been on fire as of late, so awesome stuff. Good luck to you today. Appreciate that. It's an interesting slate for sure. Only 10 games, like one of the best games going on right now in the morning. Mahomes already slinging the rock, a touchdown. Burrow and the Bills later, so it's like, man, these games aren't great, but hey, there's always money to be made. Everyone's working with the same thing. Anytime football is on the screen on Sunday, $1 million up top. Another best day of the year over here. So excited to talk some football.
Yeah, it's going to be good for sure. Just, always a fun one. Like you said, people don't want us to call it growth. It's a great slate from a tournament perspective and to work through and to try and use game theory and leverage and all the things we're going to talk about on this show. So you're in the right place. But then secondly, the part of that is, you just said it, Title, we got squeezed, man. You got Miami, KC. I know it's in Germany, but you got Tyreek versus old team, 2 amazing teams in the NFL right now. And then the end of the day, we got Cincy and Buffalo. So hard to imagine it being a tough day for anybody that loves football. It's going to be an awesome one. The 10 games, not too big, not too small, just right. We got a nice little setup here. So Hoop, come to you. You talked through your grand scheme overview already when you mentioned some of that stuff. We'll get to some of the decisions you said you got to talk through when we get to those games, but is there anything else you wanted to mention on this slate, anything in general before we get to the first game?
No, I mean, of course, Hoopster does a giveaway on, Thursday, gives away $300 in our Discord, 10 $30 packages, and Tambo has to come on and drop the hammer of a potential $30,000 giveaway. I was feeling good about my $300 giveaway, which, by the way, I will be doing again probably tomorrow for the Monday night football game. You have to be in the Discord. Gave away 10 $30 tickets to people. We'll be doing that again. But again, Tambo comes in, drops a hammer of potential $30,000 giveaway. You love to see that, and that's part of what we're building here, giving back to the community, giving people the opportunity to enter more contests, to be a part of the bigger picture here and be a part of bigger contests moving forward. So very generous of you and very cool to see.
Yeah, thank you. I love doing it. It's fun. It gives people a sweat today, something to sweat with us. And if you guys are new to the channel, we won't do a full-on marketing, pull it out. We'll get to the stack rankings later, but just to break it down quickly, we've had people winning. A few weeks ago is when the heater started. Our guy Dalton went out and won the Millie Maker. So that was incredible to see. And then since then, it's just been nonstop, right? We had the other night during Showdown, let me get it up here. Our guy Rome, J. John, turned $30 into $89K. He watched the free show that you always get the same trio, Hoop, Title, and myself. We love to keep it that way for you guys. Before that, we had our guy JB1515 in the Discord last weekend on Sunday. He turned $18 into $80K. That was a nice one.
Hey, don't forget about that Hulu though, man. Don't forget about the Hulu free roll. He got an extra $16.50 in that puppy.
I don't even know what he gets for that, but yeah, that was a nice little add-on.
I think it's cash. Yeah, it looks like he gets $1,600 and then probably some Hulu Live free subscriptions, I'd guess.
He dusted our man Hoop too. He had to drop the double hammer on him with putting the same lineup in twice. Hoop got the 10K there. We had myself win 100K thanks to our guy Hamwich. If you guys aren't a member and checking out the FanDuel slate plan, this lineup was built right off of that. Hoop was over there on FanDuel himself with his player pool, getting the live final seat. I was up there with him sneaking around, but Hoop had all the extras there. He won some cash. We had other members. Our guy could be Travis won 100K in the afternoon slate with just 3 bullets. We had Latte Larry, $200 into 9K. Not everyone's winning 100K, but you can win a single entry like our guy Wally Boa for 5,000. That was the entries. I had 1,000 in, got about 1,100 in, 101,000 out. We had biggest effing day of my life. OG Joe turned $600 into 28K. T Jones said just paid off my year-long membership. I guess I got that covered when he won 22K. And then our guy BM_900 followed up the Dalton Millie Maker win with a Millie Maker second place for 100,000. Ben is usually here in the chat with us. So a lot of good things to talk about. Title, anything you want to add, man? If not, you can get us into this first game. We're going to talk Minnesota and Atlanta here. Lots of backup quarterbacks today.
Lots of backup quarterbacks indeed. So we're probably starting with the worst one on the slate and Jaron Hall. No thanks. That's all I really got to say. I expect the Vikings to look awful. TJ Hawkinson's very interesting, especially on DK. More appropriately priced. I guess DK price is appropriate with how bad I expect this offense to be, but 5,200 It's projecting pretty well at a very bad tight end position. I still don't really like it at all. I don't want too much. I don't really want much exposure at all to this offense. He is going to be one of the more popular tight ends, and just no thank you at the end of the day. He's my favorite Viking, maybe a couple, because at the end of the day, 14, 15, if he falls in the box, that could be enough at tight end this week, but I prefer some other ones that will be lower owned. No thank you to the Viking side of the ball. As far as the Falcon side, it's really only Bijan Robinson, and man, we keep saying it every single week. Arthur Smith's there. Algier's still getting carries. I don't expect that to change, but I think Vikings struggle to move the ball. I think the Falcons play from ahead most of the game. They want to pound the football. They have Heineke back there. I expect the same offense, just run the football. You could see 25 touches for Bijan here. And at 6.1K, I'm buying in at this price tag. Buying the dip, as the people like to say. Great matchup. Should have the ball a lot. I'm going back to him, man. So it hasn't worked out all year. I'm buying in for the price. Really only Bijan in this game, though. Falcons D, of course, as well. They're expensive, but we have the money on the slate, so I don't think it's crazy at all, and I don't expect ownership to follow.
Yeah, Hoop, where's your thoughts on this one? We got early 125 likes. We got to keep it rolling, guys. Let's get to 200 fast today, over almost 350 watching. And Cody, probably not the show for you, my friend, but go find other shows and see what they're talking about and if they're going to give away up to $30,000. Doubt you find it, my friend. Hoopster, over to you. Minnesota, Atlanta, as we get through this first game here.
Yeah, just a pathetic comment.
Useless.
Yeah, that man's been in here for like months. He just randomly says comments like that. There's just people like that out there.
Yeah, we could switch it over to premium and charge you guys for the show, but we don't. We do all our shows for free.
Free. Every show.
Every single show is free. And, take a hike, buddy. In terms of this game, I mean, my thoughts align right with title. I mean, there's just not much here. I mean, on the Viking side, it's TJ Hawkinson. Maybe. I don't know. I just really worry about this offense for obviously some good reasons here. Hawkinson has obviously benefited from a really good connection with Kirk Cousins. I mean, 10, 11, 12 targets consistently. And I just don't know if that's going to be the case today. It is, tough tight end slate for sure. There are some guys I like that we'll talk about. So, yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to get to him, to be honest with you. The price is good at 5.2. The FanDuel price, like Title said, is appropriate, but I just don't love the play. This is the offense I want to be off of. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be off this offense with Jaron Hall taking the snaps. And then on the Falcons side, Bijan Robinson, yep, I'll play him for sure at 6-1 by the dip. I mean, I'm fully aligned with what Title said there as well. And then I'll throw in some Kyle Pitts at tight end. It's a tough position. It's a position where if someone finds the end zone today, that could potentially be enough. Like 50 yards and a touchdown at this price point, probably enough to be a solid play at tight end. So Bijan and Pitts, but definitely, I mean, Bijan Robinson by far the top play in this game for me.
Yeah, I like him. The price, like you said, is definitely fair there. And then you mentioned Kyle Pitts. And again, at $4,100, I think there's so many options at that $3,500, $3,400 up to $38, let's call it, where you see some popularity. And then otherwise, maybe like a Hawkinson or people going up there. So one thing we did see last time that this same position sort of setup happened was, where Atlanta was going up a team where the like DVP rankings, let's use, for example, said wide receiver was an awesome matchup like it is here. And then everyone was like, oh, but Jonnu Smith versus Pitts. But then Pitts became like a wide receiver in that offense. And now you pull out Drake London as well. So I actually like Pitts quite a bit at 4,100. I think it's an option here that you can go to. And if you can see him in your mind as a wide receiver one, which he should be, hope that Heineke, who's in now, is a little more accurate and can find him and just pepper him up. Those can start to rack up quickly. And if you get 15 plus from him today, that could be just more than enough at this position. I really don't have much more else to add. I guess I'll give a shout out to my guy Ham. He loves Hall here. This one's tougher than get me on Howell last weekend, but Hall, not Howell. And he also likes Van Jefferson on both sides. So we'll see what happens in this game, but not much for me other than that. Hoop, I'm going to stick with you. Let's go to this next game. It's Seattle, Baltimore. Lamar in these NFC games, it's like, I think they said from the betting market, is 17-1 straight up. And now you got Seattle coming across, early game, all that. Any thoughts here on Lamar, Andrew, Zay, anybody on the Seattle side? What do you got here with this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start on the Seattle side, and there's just not much for me here, to be honest with you. The Ravens defense, especially at home, has looked really, really good. They have playmakers, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, but I just don't see myself getting there, to be honest with you. I just think this is a very tough matchup for Seattle. And even on a slate where, we might be looking at more like raw points instead of ceilings and things like that, I just don't see myself getting to this offense. On the Ravens side, we don't have many spends on the slate. Lamar Jackson is one of those spends. Prefer him on FanDuel. His game just fits FanDuel scoring a little bit better, where if he finds it on the ground one time, finds the end zone, you're likely good. But on DK, I think you have to consider him as well. I mean, the couple, at least last week for sure, it went to the running backs. If that flips and the rushing touchdowns go to him, you're going to need him on the slate. So I'm in on Lamar, and I do think the ownership difference between him and Jalen Hurts is going to be pretty substantial today. I think a lot of people, if spending up, are just going to jam in Hurts. And I think Lamar, he's not going to get overlooked just because of the nature of the slate, but there's going to be a big difference between those two. It's tough, though, when you look to pair them. It's basically there's Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews. I mean, yeah, sure, you can take a shot on Bateman or Beckham, but, man, it's just going to be Zay. It's going to be Mark Andrews. And, Mark Andrews is in a position where he could just dust the tight end position very easily today because there's just not much competition there. There's not much upside. If he has one of his standard 2-touchdown games, which is certainly in the realm of possibilities, like he's the guy that you need. So in on Lamar, in on Zay Flowers, in on Mark Andrews, and that's it for me in this game.
Yeah, I like all those guys too. I'll kick it to you, Title. But, man, I thought about this one back and forth a couple times. And what I thought about was if Lamar just gets one of those 35-point days and now you're sitting pretty and everyone else is praying that Hurts gets there. And he just, if he hasn't been running as much, using Hurts now in the later stack, all that. So you also would be naturally unique at the tight end position because everybody is paying down. And even if they're going up, it's probably to like a cutoff of maybe Hawkinson, maybe, and then down from there. So it realistically looks like a great spot. It just still is hard to pull the trigger because after that might mean one less running back who you really liked or one extra punt wide receiver who you have to take that shot on. It can be done. You can still get away with using some of these good chalk pieces or the more popular pieces that why they're chalk for a reason on this slate. But that is one thing I keep thinking in the back of my mind that could just be something that happens. I have a lot on FanDuel. I have some thoughts for DraftKings, but I'll let you take it from here. Talk to us. Baltimore, Seattle. What do you got with this one?
Yeah, I like this game a lot. I mean, a lot of it's probably the nature of the slate. If this was a 13-game slate early in the year, weather's better, bigger totals, maybe not as much. I respect Seattle's defense. I respect Baltimore's defense, but I also respect Lamar most of these quarterbacks on the slate, and I respect Geno in this offense than most of this slate. So I like the Baltimore side a lot more, and like you mentioned, love Lamar. If people are spending up, more so Hurts. You always know Lamar has that rushing upside, and he has clear targets. My favorite one is Mark Andrews, as you mentioned. Tight end position, I don't think people are really going to go all the way up top. We don't really have many spends on this slate, so you're most definitely overspending, but you're overspending at a bad position that he can absolutely bury the slate. There is no Kelsey and all of that. Go back 2 weeks ago. If Andrews goes, was he 4 for 85 with 2 touchdowns or something like that? I mean, you just lap the whole field, and you'll probably need him at tight end. So really like Lamar and Andrews, and there's enough value on this slate to make it work. Gus Edwards, I'm going to keep going back to him. I think he's going to be very low owned. No one's really going to play him because of the range and the price, but I don't like him with Lamar, of course, and Andrews. That's getting piece of this game. If they get to the goal line, I mean, they've shown they'll get him the ball down there. They can move the ball. One of the highest team totals on the slate for Baltimore. I'll be mixing him in a range where nobody is mixing him in at 5.9K for that touchdown upside, since I do think Baltimore moves the ball. Zay Flowers I like as well. I do prefer Andrews, though, to Zay, mainly because of the price. But I'm totally good with Zay as well. Wide receiver 1. And I think Lamar is slinging it around in this one. Seattle's interesting. I definitely don't like the Geno and the stacking side. But because I like this Baltimore side, I think Lockett, he's my favorite, but DK as well. I think they're going to be trailing. They'll have to sling it a little bit. And again, people aren't going to these Seahawks wide receivers. We'll touch on some, like the Washington guys that are a little cheaper, go all the way up. A.J. Brown's the world. Thielen's. I think they're kind of squeezed with so many other spots. Low team total. Lockett's been Geno's number 1 guy, so my preference is him. But DK always has that big play upside. And again, I think I think this game's sneaky. I like the over at 44 I'm seeing. And I think Lamar, Andrews with a run back, a Lockett, DK is my favorite.
Yeah, and someone asked in the chat too about, do you need to run it back? I don't think you have to, but if you wanted to, like you said, I kind of like I think it's like site dependent. I kind of like Lockett more on DK, and I like Metcalf more on FanDuel. Just big body, get in the end zone once or twice. That could be enough. And so on FanDuel, I have more Metcalf. On DraftKings, I like the Lockett pairing with him. Hoop, anything else to add with that one? If not, you can take us into a game I think you got love for, is the Chicago New Orleans game. You got New Orleans up to almost 10-point favorites at home now. We got Kamara, who's going to be very popular in this game. What's your thoughts on this one, New Orleans and Chicago?
Yeah, and then just touch on this. Yeah, still like Lamar on DK, but I think he's just a better play on FanDuel the way he's he scores. So good on both. Yeah, I mean the Bears and the Saints. It's a game that I like, specifically one side, and it's the Saints side. For a couple main reasons. I mean, there's legitimate pieces here on the Saints side with upside. Alvin Kamara going to be popular, 8.1K, but man, like his floor. I mean, his lowest fantasy output this season is like 17 point something, and that's not a massive number, but if you can lock that in with the upside of 30. Like you do that. So I'm in on Kamara, and he'll be popular, no doubt about it. But I think on FanDuel, he'll be way less popular because I think he's the most expensive running back over there at 9.2. I like him on both sides. So really like him. I think this is just like a Chris Olave week. We've seen Shaheed do big things, and Shaheed, we'll talk about him in a minute, but for Olave, the Bears get beat deep down the field, and Carr has a couple options to beat them deep down the field. So Olave is one. Shaheed, he's done it 3 times this season. He's been over, I think, 17, 18 fantasy points on 3 occasions. He's been on the Millie winner, I believe, twice this year. I want some of him too. So Carr to Olave to Shaheed, I like. You get Michael Thomas for cheap at 4.7. He's a little bit of big play upside as well for him. So you have 3 legitimate options. You have a pass-catching running back. So I'm going to be in on Carr. I'm going to be in on this entire offense. At tight end, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the way this obviously goes sideways is if Taysom Hill gets in there and rushes to him, which is always the risk with Taysom Hill type teams, and it's super tilting, super annoying. But I'm going to take that risk today. I'll be heavy on the Saints. But in terms, I had a couple questions in the Discord. Do you need to run it back if you're stacking Carr? Like, no, I don't think so. Like, it could just be a spot where the Saints put up a really big number and they beat the hell out of them. A 30-something to 10 type game, I think, is the realm of possibilities here today. So love the Saints, be off the Bears.
All right. Well, you're well, I go to title here and make a couple comments. Do us a favor, Hoop, find the random winner. We're about to hit the 200 likes on the show today. Almost 450 watching. Appreciate all you guys being here with us on this Sunday morning as we break things down. Carr is trending up too, by the way, title. He's got 20, 21, and then last week 22. And last week 22, I believe Taysom still got in. That's the thing about this combo. I know it was a 38-27 game, but last week Carr still got 22, Kamara got 27, and that was with the Taysom vultures in there. So how are you seeing this game play out? I think the defense is also in question here at 4,100, but just thoughts on this game with Kamara being popular and then other guys around him, anybody from Chicago.
Yeah, I know Taysom got there in the 21-point game too, and Foster dropped that touchdown from Carr as well. So that could have been like a 30 piece from him, that spot. And you can't get a better spot. The Bears are absolutely cheeks. Like someone said, are you still bearish? Are you still bearish on the Bears because they got Montez Sweat? Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely bearish on this team. I think they're awful. They're in the dome, on the road, and you have clear targets for the Saints, and they're all appropriately priced, which makes them so interesting. Carr, Michael Thomas, Olave. I get Shaheed. He probably is going to burn me again, but man, the dude he's such a big play guy, so it's hard to say he's getting luckier or running so good like that, but Michael Thomas is the clear number 2, like for route participation, targets, all that. Olave is number 1, and Kamara, you could even say, is number 1. So I'll say Shaheed's 4th on the list. He needs that big play. I'd rather go Michael Thomas and Olave and Kamara. I rank him. Kamara is my favorite, and I like what Hoop said too. He's going to be lower owned on FanDuel. Doesn't fit the site as well, and he's way more expensive. But man, he still has 30+ touch upside, a great game environment. He's favored to score a touchdown, so I really love Kamara in this spot. Olave probably over Michael Thomas, even with the price. One of these days he's going to fall in the box. Carr's missed him so many times. I think Olave's dropped some. He's ran really bad to start the year for touchdowns. So I think that variance evens out. I like the Saints a lot for sure. In the dome with not bad weather really on this slate, but it's getting cold, obviously, across the country. Bears are awful. Cars cheap. A lot of these options are cheap. So yeah, I'm on Hoop side for sure. Sign me up for these Saints, but no Bears.
Yeah, I like for the receivers. Obviously, I like Kamara, but I would say for the receivers, I have them Olave, then Michael Thomas before Shaheed. I don't like Taysom Hill. I know someone's asking in the chat about the combo pack. Might have been Bader Bear guy. I skipped past it, but I do not have interest in that today. I don't mind, Hoop's thoughts. Like you said, you can mix it up. Carr getting Olave into the box there. That's possible. Don't need to run it back if you want to. I don't mind like a DJ Moore, a Mooney, something just to take a chance. But that's more like on FanDuel where I'm just hoping for like 1 40-yard touchdown or something that just makes it. And that's all you need to close out your lineup. So on DraftKings, any of the lineups I built with Carr, I don't think I have a run back on any of them as of now. So just a note on that one. Title, I'll stay with you here. We got Arizona, Cleveland, but I can't come to you yet because I got to use my line. I think Clayton gets tuned today, and I think Cleveland just absolutely pounds this team. I think you can go heavy on the Cleveland side. I'm not sure if you saw the line has moved even more in their favor. The team total's up even more due to that. Obviously, all correlates together. But your thoughts on this game between Cleveland and Arizona, and then when we get back to you, Hoop, we'll give away that $100 before you give your takes on this game.
Yeah, I think this game, I think it's fine. Like, I like the Saints side. I like Saints more than this Cleveland side. I like the Baltimore more than this side. So they fall down the list a little bit. Deshaun, I mean, I don't know about Deshaun. Last time we saw him, he looked absolutely awful. Dude's got a million things going on in his life, it feels like. Is his head locked in? He has a great matchup for sure. And he has cheap weapons that you can pair him with. Njoku would be my favorite just because you're at a weak tight end position and you can get away cheap and spend up elsewhere. So I'm good with him. I do actually like him a lot. Cooper would be my second favorite, and Elijah Moore would be third. I don't really want to go mess with the backfield. The Jerome Ford, Hunt's in the mix. I think it's pretty much going to be a split, pretty close to it on this slate. There's a lot of good running backs, underpriced running backs too. So don't really love the backfield. My favorite way to attack it would be probably Deshaun, Njoku, and the Coopers, but I think I like it more as just like one-offs. Njoku, Cooper, Elijah Moore, since there are some quarterbacks I like more than Deshaun, but it really just the passing game on that side. I do not like the Cardinals side at all. They're going to be in for a rough day.
Yeah, I could see that. I like this one better, Jason, definitely. On FanDuel, this works too. Our guy Ham was interested in it. I think it actually pairs up nicely. It's always the worry with Hunt for sure, but it looks like since Ford's been back, you've seen him be okay. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. You can play either or, but I prefer Ford. Hoop, do you have the winner for us, the $100 first random winner, as we keep those likes going, because we want to get to 500 so we can give away the additional $200 at the end?
Yeah, I had one selected, then I actually just saw this one, and this is the winner. It's going to be Nick Smith. He goes, yapping about wins for 10 minutes is crazy because there's so many wins to mention, and we've always said that if you're a part of our team, if you're part of our community, and you win life-changing money, we are going to shout you out, and this is the platform we use to shout it out. So, yeah, I mean, it did take longer today because so many people won so much freaking money last week. That's why it took longer. So Nick Smith knows what's up. He's got our back, and a hell of a comment there. So he's the winner.
Yeah, congrats to Nick. And before you go on this game, I will say that too. I mentioned this on the NBA show Friday. I've been in this industry a long time. I've done the Manscaped reads. They take way longer than that took, and they give no praise to anybody. So I prefer to always do that instead. Like Hoop said, a lot of community members got the job done. We're happy to see them do it. You can get in too. You can join ShipItNation.com. You can use the promo code Mayo. Try out any of the plans. 10% off with code Mayo. Go check it out. You'll get in. You'll be right in the Discord with us, hanging out. The community is incredible. Lots of people are finding their way, getting their own process, being able to build their own lineups out and find something that's repeatable so they can start to get their own wins and find their way to the early 10-minute yapping on the show. Go ahead, Hoop. We got Arizona and Cleveland, my man. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Well, I won't say nothing on the Cardinal side. If I need another like really cheap running back, Ingram 4-3 with DeMarcado out, like I'm not going to actively force him in there, but he could potentially be in the player pool. I mean, it is a terrible spot. I mean, the Cardinals are projected to score 12 real life points. Like that's as low as it gets, really. I mean, that might be the lowest I've seen in a long time. That is just a really, really low number. But Ingram should have an opportunity here. Not, again, actively trying to get him in my lineups, but for 150, he might be in the player pool. McBride may be in the player pool, but that is it. And one other guy I'll say is Rondale Moore at 3.2K. They've given him some rush attempts. Yeah, I don't know, like not going to be overweight or, way over the field or core plays type guys, but cheap parts of my roster construction maybe today. On the Brown side, it's the last spot I'm trying to decide on. I talked to you guys before the show and haven't really decided what I'm going to do with this team. It's a slate where, quarterback's a tough position. And if Deshaun Watson is right and, has this rushing upside and runs one in, like that could be enough at a weak quarterback position today. He has clear, cheap targets, like Title pointed out, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Njoku. So, there's a very direct, route tree or pass tree. He's going to those three guys if he's dropping back for the most part. Don't love the running back. So, maybe I do end up getting on some Deshaun Watson stacks today in my 150. Again, haven't fully decided, but the nature of the slate, the nature of the quarterback position, I might end up getting there a little bit today. So curious to see what you have to say about this one, Tambo.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You mentioned like the route tree, everything that we've got there. If I can just go, you can do it a bunch of different ways, but I think for sure Amari Cooper, you can just stop there. You can add in Njoku. That's fine as well. Njoku's 3,800. You can get away with that. The Cleveland D is definitely in play. I talked to Mayo about this on Friday, but Cleveland D is 4,200. Saints are 41. People are looking at these other spots. I think my take is this, is that why, like they may as well let Tune do whatever he wants because they know Kyler's coming back. He almost came back this week. So just see what he's got. And it's not going to go well. That's the thing. And that's why the lines, that's everything you talk about all the time. By the way, no weather really on this slate. The weather was in like this morning, technically a little bit, and on the Monday Night Football game, but it's not going to take weather here. It's going to be the opposite. When the lines are moving like this, Hoop, it usually means it's going to go that way. This one's moved quite a bit, up to almost 2 touchdowns in some places. The D, everything else that goes with it. I just think you can just smash this spot. And like I said, Clayton gets tuned today. Cleveland wins this game handily. So I'm fine with that. Anything else to add with this one, Title? If not, you could take us into Tampa Bay and Houston.
Yeah, nothing really to add on that. Mainly it'd just be the pass catching side on Cleveland. As far as Tampa, Houston, another dome game. Definitely the first talking point is Devin Singletary. Damian Pierce is out. Singletary is 4.3K. Absolutely brutal matchup against Tampa, but 4.3K for a guy that's probably going to get 15 plus touches, can catch maybe a couple passes out of the backfield. It's an interesting one because if it was a slate where there was so many good spin ups, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp with Stafford, all of this, it's like, yeah, Singletary, and we were starved for value. Singletary would be even higher owned. He's definitely still going to be owned, but still DeMario Douglas we're going to talk about. Still like Josh Jacobs, the Pollards, there's still some underpriced people on a slate that Terry McLaurin's of the world where he's a fine play, but in tournaments, I think I would rather get away a little bit due to the matchup, due to not needing the salary as much. I think I like getting some leverage with the passing game. Nico Collins, he'll always be my favorite on the Texans. I just think he has the highest upside. I think he's the best receiver. But Tank Dell's also there. There's Dalton Schultz there as well. So I'm good with some of them. Again, I prefer the Saints so far that we talked about, prefer Baltimore that we talked about. I guess I'll want you guys to answer this when I throw it back, but the Houston passing game or the Cleveland passing game, if you had to stack it up, I think my lean right now would probably be the Cleveland passing game, a little more fair prices. But yeah, I'll be playing some Singletary, probably underweight though in tournaments due to the matchup. Nico Collins, my favorite in this game. On the other side, I think Mike Evans is fine. Don't really like Baker in this spot, though. I prefer Mac Jones and Howell when we get there. Derek Carr down low, too. So no, not really Baker. Collins, Singletary, Mike Evans on the other side, and Dalton Schultz at a weak tight end position I'm good with as well.
Yeah, 100 more likes to go till we get to the next giveaway. So smash the like button if you're just joining us. Over 500 watching now. We do appreciate it. One thing I would say there, I noticed this today when I was looking at it. This is not for the faint of heart, but any Singletary, DeMario, Pop Douglas lineup that you put together can be Stevenson, Ramondre, we'll get to this game in a second, with Noah Brown. And you're getting the passing game piece, which if you saw my tidbits, Noah Brown looks really good here at 3,100. There's still no Woods. And instead of your cheap Douglas there, you've got a cheap Noah Brown. And then instead of Singletary, again, it depends what your lineup looks like. But I know some people are watching this that are in King of the Beach and all these different things. Obviously, it's nice when you have more lineups to work with, but I'm just saying you'll see a lot of lineups today that are Kamara, Singletary, Douglas, Jacobs, and then one other spot like McLaurin or something, and boom, you've got the same combination as almost everybody. It's okay to have a lineup like that, but I think in some others, when you're looking to leverage or you're looking to find other spots, I definitely think there's spots here you can go. And like Title said, on FanDuel, I like overstack this game completely. I've got Baker sides of it. I've got Stroud sides of it. Just moving on because I don't like Singletary as much over there. On DraftKings, we're really just playing him as a $4,300 guy. The matchup's bad, kind of. But at the same time, this is the guy that was getting half the work, making fun of my guy Nades. I was last week saying, hey, Nades, this guy sucks. Worst play on the slate, but he was getting half the work. I was just bugging him already. And now you take Pierce out of the mix. The O-line got a little bit healthier. You just never know what can happen here. And he's going to be popular. So it's not some sneaky option. I just wanted to give that 2v2 off the top. Hoop, give us your thoughts on this game, Tampa Bay, Houston.
Yeah, a lot of the same thoughts. Houston side is definitely more appealing to me. No Dameon Pierce. Maybe they decide to pass it a little bit more, with him out there, or Stroud runs a little bit more. So I think there's a lot of upside in this Houston offense today. Obviously, Singletary is going to be popular, very popular. He's 4,300, projected to get all the work. It is not like a slam dunk spot, though, and his ownership is going to be very, very high. It makes roster construction very easy. Very common build you're going to see today. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devin Singletary, and this Douglas guy. Like, that is going to be – that combination of four is going to be so highly owned together that I think if you're doing that, you need to be looking for some of those pivots that Tambo just mentioned off those popular type plays, off Singletary, off to Mario Douglas. I will have Singletary in my pool today, but it's certainly not a slam dunk spot. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and I really like the Noah Brown call. I mean, when he's out there, he gets targets. 5 targets in his last 2 games. He does have some degree of big play upside. And then you have a tight end as well, and Dalton Schultz, who's been very effective this season. So really like the spot, really like the Texans. It's a very consolidated offense, really, when you look at it. They have the 3 wide receivers, they have the 1 tight end, and they have a running back that's going to get most of the work, and they're in a dome with the weather starting to change a little bit, like Title pointed out earlier. On the Tampa Bay side, I don't know, sure, I'll probably have some Baker to Mike Evans, maybe some Chris Godwin, but I'm not sure which one you guys mentioned. I prefer all that stuff, I think, a little bit more on FanDuel opposed to DraftKings today. Like, the prices are just better on these guys over on FanDuel. The ownership isn't all that much. Like, Mike Evans fits FanDuel scoring much better with the touchdown stuff. So fine with that. Rashad White, he's definitely in the running back player pool today. He's got a lot of routes to get there with the pass catching. He gets a lot of the goal line stuff. So, yeah, overall, I think it's a solid game, but my preference is definitely the Houston side today.
Yeah, and the tidbit I had, just so people don't follow it, you can go on XFK Twitter at ToeTagginTambo, and it said, Jake Tribby from Fantasy Points said, don't forget about Noah Brown, $3,100. That makes he's the second best usage-based DFS value on the slate, looking at around 3.5x his salary. So you get 10 plus points there. You'd be pretty happy and keep going up from there. He has more upside because he says, and his matchup is awesome. The Buccaneers are the single softest schedule-adjusted matchup for opposing slot wide receivers, plus 6 fantasy points per game. Noah Brown ran 65% of his routes from the slot last week, and I'd expect more of the same with Robert Woods unlikely to play. And obviously at that time he was unlikely. Now he's out. So definitely don't hate that. Like I said, it's not for the faint of heart, what I mentioned, but if you do that 2v2, you're just naturally different, and then you can almost get away with whatever you like. I like our guy Nick, always wishing for me to win the Millie Maker. I appreciate the support. He says over 500 watching, almost 550 now. It's steadily going up. The likes correlate with that, so we do appreciate it. Smash the like. When we get to 350, we're almost to 300 now. We're going to do another giveaway. I've got the site up here for anyone who doesn't know from the past, because we're going to show off our stack rankings for the next game, give a little sneak peek with this Washington-New England game coming up. For those that don't know, go to the site. It's free to check out, shipitnation.com. You can check the testimonials out, see what other people are saying. You can sign up for free with your email just to get some exclusive offers, announcements, contests, things like that in the future. If you go here, you can see what we have projections for, all of our NFL stuff, including Showdown. We had everything up for the slate this morning for the cores, the projections, the ownership for the Germany game. Someone talked about NBA last night. Our guy Rio has been crushing it. I won another mega seat last night thanks to his core report. So just all the sports, all the action, PGA, was back this week. The course fit rankings that Lee Aldrich does for us and his value report, all 6 of 6 made the cut. Mackenzie Hughes, Nate Lashley's they're like top 3 in this and doing well in the tournament as well. And then MMA, always on fire, had another nice slate this week, minus the cancellation, which I'll let Title complain about if he wants to in a second. But you go to Join the Nation. It's all here. You can do monthly, 6 months, or annual. The price goes down by about $10 a month, but it goes down even further if you use promo code Mayo. You just go join now. You click in here. You go down to have a coupon. You type in here, Mayo, and you're good to go. You'll get it for $62 for your first month to check out. Then you can go over to our stack rankings today, and I'm going to let a little bit of it come up here. We'll see. Let me zoom it in one more, and then we'll sneak it. Title, come to you on this one because we are talking about Washington versus the Patriots. We know about some of the popularity pieces in this game, but look at it. You go to our stack rankings, Patriots and Commanders, 1 and 5 in these rankings here. So talk to me about this game and how you see it playing out. Let's talk about some of these other options when we get to this spot.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this game. Both defenses I do not think are any good. Washington just traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So, man, Mac Jones should have a clean pocket back there. Clicking Mac Jones is never fun, but he's really cheap. Again, should have a lot of time. Great matchup. DeMario Douglas is a clear chalk guy, and if you play DeMario Douglas, you get a pretty decently low-owned quarterback. Mac will be played a little bit, but quarterback exposure always spread out. And there's no Kendrick Bourne. There's no Devontae Parker. So you have a clear, very cheap targets with Mac Jones. Douglas, by far the favorite. He's going to be popular. He actually looks pretty good, though. And 13 targets the past 2 games. Works out of the slot a lot. I like DeMario Douglas in this spot. I get it. He's like Singletary chalk or Douglas chalk. I like the Douglas chalk more today for sure. So I'll be playing more of him. But I totally get if you want to fade a no-name chalk receiver that's 4K just because of the nature of the slate and all of that. So I get that for sure, but I'll be playing them. Outside of him, Ramondre Stevenson's really the only, I guess 2 other ones. Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry. I know we were showing Gesicki up there. Interesting. I don't think it's crazy by any means. I expect a lot of 2 tight end sets for them as well. I prefer Hunter Henry. He is their number 1 tight end. He does run more routes, a little more involved in the red zone as well. So I like Hunter Henry. And I mentioned Stevenson. Stevenson's tough for me. He can catch a lot of passes, but Zeke has a huge role on this team as well. And on this running back slate, I think I'd much rather the pass catchers. But Zeke or Stevenson, because he does have pass catching upside, will be in the pool as well. I prefer the Washington side, though, in this one. I mean, they've been slinging the ball, man. Sam Howell is dropping back a lot. Terry McLaurin's still way underpriced. We've been on him the past couple of weeks. No Curtis Samuel in this offense, so that's a huge boost for McLaurin, Dotson, Logan Thomas, another tight end. That's pretty cheap. And I like Howell that I'll mix in there as well. So, yeah, it's really concentrated on both sides. Mac to Douglas, and then I'll add in Hunter Henry and Stevenson. Howell to Terry McLaurin, Dotson, and then I'll add in some Logan Thomas. Don't really like the running game in this one. Stevenson, I'm playing him more for just the pass-catching upside. But, yeah, both teams, I think – I like the over in this game a lot. I don't think Pat's D is any good. And I don't think I think Washington's defense is going to be in for a world of hurt going forward without Sweat and Chase Young.
Yeah, that was the key point you brought up. And then Nick brought this up as well. I'm going to add, he's got the good comments today. I got to appreciate that and bring them up. But the quick release is 2 weeks in a row now. Obviously, he took 100 sacks before they realized this was probably the play to get the ball out of his hands. So that's kind of where that started. But it makes a lot of sense. And then you look at it on the other side, like you said, it's good for Mac. It's good for Ramondre. It's definitely opportunities because when you don't have those 2 guys in there, I think people look at this matchup and say, well, this is a tough D or, I want to get after that. It may not be the case here. And then also the Patriots D was showing as pretty popular. Here's what I'm going to say, Hoop, and then I'll kick it to you. I believe the Patriots D1 is still a thing. I actually think as much as ownership projections show some places, I think Howell has passed Mac Jones. I think Howell's actually picking up the steam. I know it can't be the same, but I think you're going to see more Howell stacks than you will Mac Jones stacks. Even though people are mixing these pieces, you'll definitely see a lot of secondary stacks of Douglas and McLaurin or Douglas and Logan Thomas. But Hoop, I'll let you talk on this one while we keep it up here. There's some other stacks in there, but talk to us about this one.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to go against our stack rankings here because they've absolutely smashed all season long, but I don't get the Mac Jones stuff like at all. Like he's just not a good quarterback. And I know it's a tough slate, identifying solid plays, but I can't click the Mac Jones name. And I get it if you want to, because I'm sure most people are doing it because the slate is so nasty and a lot of low totals, but I have to draw the line somewhere, and I draw the line with Mac Jones. I'm not playing Mac Jones. Demario Douglas, fine option, but I think at the end of the day, it could be one of those plays where it's like, man, Demario Douglas was 30% owned, and he got us like 6 fantasy points. Wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. I'm playing him, don't get me wrong, but I will not be surprised at the end of the day if he fully busts. Agree with the Ramondre Stevenson thing. It's just, man, I just don't love clicking that name. If I am going to click it, though, it's going to be on FanDuel and just hope he finds the end zone. I feel like I've said that all season long, and he just keeps sucking and sucking and sucking. But I will play him over there at, I think it's 6.2, I believe, on FanDuel. Correct me.
Yeah, he's a good price there. People worry about Zeke, I think, but I'm still with you. I think it's a spot that you find Ramondre getting in the box there. I don't hate that call.
Yeah, so fine with him on FanDuel. Don't love him. So he's the same price as Rachaad White, basically on DK. They're $200 difference. I just want to play Rachaad White over Ramondre on DK. Douglas, Hunter Henry, I think is fine. As a cheap tight end, I know this is showing Gesicki, and that's cool as well. He's 2.6K. If you are playing the Mac Jones stuff, Henry, Gesicki are guys to look at. So, Demario Douglas, fine option. Henry, a fine option, but don't really love this Patriots offense. Commanders, though, yeah, definitely in on them. And you get the injury, which should boost things. I mean, Curtis Samuel is getting weird usage in the red zone where they kind of give him those end around plays or the little short passes. I just think this is a bump for the total offense. Terry McLaurin, Dotson, I love. I figured Dotson would be super popular when we got the Samuel news, and he really didn't move up all that much. So I want to be way overweight on Dotson. Logan Thomas, the same thing. We talked about it on the Friday show because I think the news kind of broke right before with Samuel. And I figured Thomas would just shoot up and everyone would be playing him. And that's not necessarily the case either. And he's had big games this season. So love this offense. Sam Howell, yeah, I mean, imagine that. You get rid of the ball quickly and you don't take as many sacks and the offense is more productive. Crazy how that works. But yeah. I'm going to be in on it. I'm going to be in on it in a big way. Definitely like the Commander side way more than the Patriots here.
Yeah, and the chat brought it up too, the Jamison Crowder thing. Title, your thoughts on this? Because you talk about Douglas on the other side. You can save $600 and get this guy that went 7 for 7 for 95 yards and a touchdown last week. He's in the mix. No Samuel. What's your thoughts on Jamison Crowder there?
I just don't think it's the right slate for it with not enough spend ups, with way too much value. I don't like it. I'm not going to have much. I prefer the Noah Brown route than I would there.
What about the other angle too? Noah mentioned this in the chat, but I kept hearing this in our Discord too about Bill Belichick taking away wide receiver ones. Is he going to take out Scary Terry, or does he just not care and just move on to the next thing? What's that look like?
I think that shit's so overblown now. I mean, he was working with a lot of talent back throughout his coaching career on the defense, and he is a very good mind, no doubt about that. But it's a lot easier to do when you have a lot of talent at all 3 levels, and they just don't have that nowadays. So I don't think they can take away anyone. You double team them, then you're going to get gashed somewhere else. So no, I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah, we have seen with these stack rankings too. Sometimes the number one comes through. Sometimes if you're not on anybody in the number one, the answer is to play the running back there. So as we talked about with those 2 guys now missing and being traded away, you could see a spot where Stevenson does the work. I also think it wouldn't be crazy if you wanted to go and bet the first touchdown and bet both Gesicki and bet Henry and just hope that it's one of those 2, because on first touchdown odds, you're going to make money as long as it is one of them betting both, because those odds will be up there. So could do that as a way to get after it that way too, because it is hard to choose between those 2. Anything you want to talk about here, more hoop? If not, take us into the Rams-Packers in Lambeau Field, 38-point total.
Yeah, going to be a quick one here. No Matthew Stafford. I mean, I just can't imagine clicking any of these Rams names. Even with Stafford in there, it wasn't all that of an appealing spot. You could obviously make the case for Cooper Kupp and Puka if you wanted, maybe some Higbee, but with Rippy in there, no thanks. I'm just totally passing on this offense. I think both defenses are in play. I'm fine playing the Rams defense. I'm definitely fine playing the Packers defense. Packers defense will get some ownership here. There's no doubt about it. But I'll be on them. Aaron Jones, I don't hate Aaron Jones today. I think this could finally be a spot for Aaron Jones. Love hasn't really gotten the job done. Maybe they lean on Jones a little bit more here today, but not going to be playing this Packers passing game. This is a very easy game for me. It's both defenses. Aaron Jones, I do like quite a bit, and that is it.
I feel like we're really aligned on this one because that's pretty much where I'm at. Some good little nuggets out there on Jaden Reed, another cheap option if you wanted to play him there. It just still getting the work. When you see it, even like last week, again, 4 for 6 for 83. The week before, 3 for 21 with a touchdown. He's put up 11 points in 3 of his last 4. That's not much, but he's $3,600. And when you're talking about Douglas and Brown and Crowder and other guys, Reed was definitely another one that fit down here. But I like your take, and I added more Jones on FanDuel, even though he plays the same on both sites, really, as a play. I just ended up getting to more of them on FanDuel, and the Packers D comboed up there. I don't hate that. Title, your thoughts? The Packers, buddy, Jordan Love, you know something about this team. Talk to us about this game. Anything?
Yeah, I know Jordan Love is cheeks, and the front office is also cheeks. But as far as this game today, Aaron Jones, the coach speak, is it going to get me again? LaFleur goes, Aaron Jones going to be unleashed this week. All this BS. Who even knows? A.J. Dillon will probably be out there 50%. But it's Jones. I'll ride it. He's going to be pretty low owned still. Should be playing for him ahead. The Rams won't have the ball much. I don't think Rippon's going to be able to move it. And I like Packers D, so you get a little boost there. But I don't know. He could get 12 carries like we've seen the past couple weeks. And it's so hard to trust LaFleur. But when Aaron Jones is healthy, he's a problem. Good price tag. Ownership looks to be in check. He has that upside, and I like Packers D. So, yeah, I like that pairing.
All right. I don't have anything else to add here, so I'll stay with you, Title. We'll go to the next one here. Indy, Carolina. 44.5 point total. We're about 40 likes away from 350, guys. So if you're just joining us, over 550 watching now, thank you so much for being here. Do us a favor on the way in, subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and then also remember, over on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station, at SHIPIT Nation, youtube.com/@SHIPITNation, we just passed the $4,000 mark for subscribers. It's free to subscribe over there. When we get to 5,000, we're going to be giving away an annual membership. And like Hoop mentioned earlier, we have all our shows for free. So any show that's not featured on Mayo's network here, where we do have 2 NBA shows now, Wednesday and Friday. We've got the normal Monday and Thursday for Showdown. And then we've got today's show, the Sunday morning, 9:45 a.m. Eastern. You can go over to our SHIPIT Nation YouTube station and subscribe there for free. When we get to 5,000 subscribers, we're going to be giving away an annual membership. We gave away a month here, 6 months there. It's going to be an annual at the big milestone. So go over there. The link's up on the screen. You guys can check that out. Title, I'll stick with you. Indy, Carolina. What do you got with this one?
Yeah, one of the highest totals on the slate, which is interesting to get these two teams, but 2 suspect defenses, especially the Colts secondary, which leads me to, I like the Carolina side more. And Adam Thielen, man, what a 2023. I did not expect to see Adam Thielen doing this, but Bryce Young literally just stares at the guy. He's in the slot. Thielen's always open, 5-yard curl routes, whatever it may be. I'll keep playing Thielen. There's no doubt about that. The price is great. FanDuel, it's not nearly as good, and he doesn't fit scoring as well over there. Ownership will follow, though. But DK, definitely like me some Adam Thielen. Jonathan Mingo and DJ Chark, too. I think all 3 are in play. Chark's 3-7, Mingo 3-4. They run a lot of 3 receiver sets. And we talked about a little pre-show, but I know Hoops mentioned it on the show. It's when he likes so many pass catchers, he just naturally will throw in the quarterback in it. I think that's kind of where I'm at with Bryce Young. He's going to be pretty low owned. There's not many quarterbacks I love on this slate. So in my 150 and stuff, I will be playing a little Bryce Young because I am playing some Thielen. I like Mingo and Chark, who are pretty low owned too. So I like that side. Chuba Hubbard as well. He's fine. Miles Sanders. So this is all the coach talk. Chuba's going to get the start. Sanders is still going to work in. They'll ride the hot hand. The hot hand's Ben Chuba, all this stuff. Who knows? Chuba has definitely looked better, and I would not play Miles Sanders today. 5K is a fine price tag, but I do prefer the passing game over Chuba in this spot. As far as the other side with the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, great price tag at 6'4". Zach Moss has been good, but Taylor's just going to keep widening the gap, I think. And that price, I like the Carolina side. JT has a lot of upside, showed it so far this year. I'm good with JT a lot. Outside of him, not really much. So, yeah, Carolina passing attack. I think Chuba's fine, though. That's my favorite side. But JT, an easy run back, or you can get skinny stacks in this game. That's how I'm approaching it.
Just a note, this is not correct. He's playing. So he was questionable and he's playing. So Chark is in. I liked Mingo. I thought it was finally Mingo week. It might still be, but I'm just saying, like, I definitely like Mingo a lot more before. I like this stack, especially on FanDuel too. I know Mayo was talking it up for DraftKings this week. He likes it. We worked with it on the show on Friday. Hoop, I'll go to you on this one. This is a topic of discussion. Everyone says like JT is going to be so popular, but it's like a harder click because I know people saw him not really play much in the second half last game. And then they also saw like all the stuff Moss has been doing. And so as much as he seems like he's a guy that people are clicking, when you have Kamara, Singletary, and Jacobs, some people are moving to Barkley. There's some Hubbard picks in there in the mix. There's other guys that people are picking and choosing from. I don't know if he's actually going to push as high as people thought, but you give me your thoughts on this running game and then talk to me just about the overall of this game as well. What do you got?
I don't think he's going to be all that popular, to be honest with you. And I think it's probably for the right reasons. Like, they're going to be fine rolling Moss and Taylor. Like, I don't think Taylor is going to pull away from this situation and be the guy getting all the work. I think it is going to be a split. And it's not like Jonathan Taylor's coming in the high leverage situations. Like at the 5-yard line, they're totally fine rolling with Zach Moss. And if you're playing a guy like Jonathan Taylor, you want his ass in there when they're inside the 5. Just hasn't been the case. And last week was a split essentially right down the middle. Taylor looked really good. Thinking what he finished at like 95 yards. People were tilting because he didn't get the bonus. Like, I don't know. I think they're going to continue to use both these guys pretty equally. On FanDuel, I like Taylor a little bit more, where again, like the touchdowns are weighted heavier, but again, he's not necessarily getting these high leverage touchdown situation carries. So I don't know. I don't love the Colts running backs. Don't love the pass catchers. I don't really like this game. And yeah, it is one of the higher totals, which is crazy, sitting at 45. But Adam Thielen, I mean, just got to keep rolling him out there. Like you said, when Bryce Young drops back, it is Adam Thielen number 1. And then everyone else way below. I will play some Mingo. Not thrilled with Hubbard. I mean, he got a lot of the work last week, but he didn't do all that well. Really, it's Thielen for me in this game and not too much else. I mean, I will play some Hubbard. Again, if he does get hot, if he has a good opening drive, he probably gets almost all the work. So I'm fine with him. Really like Thielen, and that's kind of it. I mean, I will have some Taylor. I mean, I know I kind of shit on the play, but I will have some of him, but I don't think it's a great play by any means.
I like him a little bit more than you, I think. I think that, again, I just like that people are a little bit scared of him. And even the chat just showed me there was like 6 people that were like, oh, I'm going to Moss instead. And I get that. He is cheaper. He gives you the savings. But if Taylor just has one of these finally has one of these weeks where he's more involved, it's going to be a big score. So at 6,400, I don't hate it. I think he's an option. I think people like both quarterbacks and can stack them up here. I stack them more on FanDuel, like I said. And then the Thielen thing isn't going to be sneaky because he's coming with the ownership. But I'm just saying, like, it's funny how people complained, right? Like, oh, when he was 5K, like, oh, this guy should be 9K. This guy should be as much as everybody. The minute he's still not even 8K. He's 7,500. And people are like reluctantly putting him in and saying like, I guess I'll play him at 7,500, but we all, said this guy should be 9K. So I think he's fine. Mayo talked me more into him the other day, and you go back and look, it's been like 15 to 30 points, pretty much a Kamara type situation where you're just getting whatever you can out of him. As far as Josh Downs goes, somebody asked in the chat, he's also expected to play. So Chark and Downs, 2 guys in this game that you're going to get. Anything else from you on this one, Title, that you want to bring up? If not, we can move on and go to the big game of the day. Actually, let's save it. Let's go Giants and Raiders. We'll save the last one because it kind of brings Slate dynamics into it, how we want to talk about the overall big picture to round it out. So let's talk about the Giants and the Raiders here. We know Jacobs is getting love, but talk to me about this one, Title. What do you got?
Yeah, so Aiden O'Connell starting. They got a new coach, all that, which most people have probably heard. Jacobs' price tag, his role, everything. He projects really well. I don't know, man. I'm going to be playing some, of course. He's probably going to cost me some more money, of course, like he has all year. Dude runs into his own offensive lineman, no push. It's so hard to watch. The offense isn't good. But he also can catch passes. He's going to be on the field almost all the time. I think O'Connell's going to dump off the ball a lot. I'm playing him. I need you guys I need your guys' take as well. But I know I'm playing him reluctantly. probably going to burn me. I'm used to it. But outside of him, no one on the Raiders side. Raiders defense definitely can play Raiders defense. So the Jacobs Raiders D, I guess, is something I am interested in. As far as the Giants side, I like Saquon. I mean, he's going to be not low owned by any means, but there's only so many guys, like only so many spend ups. He's going to fall down the list a little bit. He's getting 25, 30 touches. So anybody with his explosiveness, his upside for 25, 30 touches. Daniel Jones is back too. I view that as an upgrade, even though he hasn't been great this year. I like both running backs in this game. Outside of that, both defenses too. Definitely can play Giants defense against O'Connell. So I like the running back defense pairings. And then the last guy, Wendell Robinson, 3.5K, also gets a boost with Daniel Jones back right in the slot. We've been talking about him what feels like months now, ever since his first game back on prime time in the slot. But running backs, defenses, and Wendell Robinson.
Yeah, Wandale always gets brought up, but I guess the other side too of it would be the Barkley spot. Like you said, I think they're getting. I know Jones is back first of all, so he's back healthy. The O-line is supposed to be coming back healthy. We'll wait and get that news probably closer too, but looks like it'll be back. So
yeah, we don't have the Andrew Thomas news yet?
I don't think,
because that is pretty. Not like I won't like him or Saquon, but he was cute.
Yeah, Thomas and Neal are nearing Giants' return. I didn't get the updated yet, but I mean, that's definitely helpful to them. But I also think that's the interesting part of this. This is why I wanted to save the Dallas-Philly game till last, because the late swap aspect of this slate, this is where you end up. And I think you want to be, if the morning goes well, on probably the Dallas-Philly game, just because feels really safe. It's a good back and forth spot. Even if the defenses show up, they keep it pretty condensed. Like, you'd be able to still pick up your points and do enough. But I think the natural inclination will be to go to Indy, Carolina, and get to Minshew or Bryce Young or some of those options within that game, as opposed to this one besides the running backs. And somebody brought it up there earlier. I want to see who said it there. It was, where was it at? Right here. Best mini of the day. I think that's really interesting. If you got a pivot in the afternoon and you go to something like O'Connell, Adams, and Barkley, that could really find your way up the board, because any big Adams day is going to be a big day for O'Connell. He targeted him. I think he hit him 13 times last time out when they played, and it was still like an 8-something one day. Like, he had a decent enough day that it's fine to go to. So I don't hate that if you are late swapping here to O'Connell. Adams is obviously a great move when people are going to be heavy on Jacobs. So that would be something to keep in mind. And then you get Barkley on the other side instead. I do like this game from that perspective. Again, low total, but I think you could see big fantasy points. That's the difference, because of these high usage rates, because of the backup quarterback with O'Connell, checking it down to guys like Jacobs, or short passes to someone who can get open easily in Adams. I think you could see more of that. So I actually have a little bit of interest here. Hoop, what are you doing in this spot with the Giants?
Hold on. Before Hoop goes, got to shout out the GOAT.
There you go. Go ahead. You got the jersey?
No, not on. Okay, always got to shout out.
Where's yours, Hoop? The chat already was giving you shit earlier. Where's your Dak jersey?
You didn't win 250.
I said I won 250.
Live final seat, though. Yeah, you won the
live final seat. I'd have to add in your 100,000. I'd have to, I don't know. Like, I said 250.
Last year, a couple of weeks ago, was Millie.
Poor contest selection, though. Poor contest selection. If you had entered that 55, you would have got me.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember. It must not have been, because I built 150 and I built 20, and that just kind of fell in the gap. So I didn't end up playing that one. I appreciate
it, my friend. I appreciate it.
Again, I'm thrilled to see you win 100,000. You know,
sharing the wealth. That's what we do here.
Yes. On the Raiders side, Title used the word perfectly. Reluctantly playing Josh Jacobs, kind of doing the same thing. Like, the price is so damn low. He has many paths to get there. Like, if they're playing from behind, he could get a shit ton of dump offs. Like, if they're playing with the lead, they're going to use his ass. If they're at the goal line, they're going to use his ass. So, like, reluctantly playing Josh Jacobs. I like that term, and I'm going to stick with it and steal it from Title. Not much interest in this passing game. Michael Mayer, have to mention him as a cheap tight end. I think he's fine to throw in there. Didn't really hear you guys say much about Daniel Jones, and he's kind of in that same price range as like Deshaun Watson and guys like that. He has cheap, as cheap as you can get pass catchers to go with him. Slayton is projecting to be like the wide receiver 3,200. Wandale Robinson 3,500. Bellinger all the way down at 25. Daniel Jones obviously has rushing upside, which, I mean, he's been a disaster. I mean, these are two of the most disappointing teams, I think, on the season, the Giants and the Raiders. But Daniel Jones has proven to be a very effective quarterback for fantasy purposes. So I think I will have some of him paired up with these other guys, and I agree on the Saquon thing. Seems like it could just be a really, really good spot for Saquon here today, which a lot of people probably go to Kamara over Saquon. So I think we see a little bit of ownership difference between those two. But yeah, I'm interested in the Giants side here for sure. I mean, it's going to go one of two ways for the Raiders. Like, they're going to show up today after all these moves, or just say, fuck it. Like, we're just, we're just chilling. They're not going to give a shit what happens. So I have interest in the Giants side today. And then Jacobs.
Yeah. And just so you noted too, it's still up on the screen, the stack rankings. Number 2 is Jones, Wandale, and you could put Slayton. But again, you don't have to just go and play all three. It's to show how the value shakes out so you can get some ideas. But funny enough, it's all the guys we pretty much just mentioned. Like, we talked earlier about Howell. We talked about the Mac Jones situation in that same game, but we just talked about Bryce Young. You compare Daniel Jones to Watson. There's all these options in here that you can go to. And yeah, I like that comment too from Gary.
I'm holding tight.
All right, boys, let's move on. Let's go to this last game of the day. We got Dallas, Philadelphia. This is the biggest total on the slate. But Title, I'm going to come to you first. What's the thought process here? I think we see, Hurts getting the ownership for sure. We see A.J. Brown to go with it. That ties together. I think Ferguson and Goddard get a little bit, but after that, I think Pollard, I should mention, is like low teens, but on FanDuel, maybe more popular just because he's cheaper. But give us your thoughts on this one, Title, from the game perspective, and then how it relates to the slate perspective, because that's, I think, more important with late swap and everything that's going on today.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just laid it out perfectly for how, like, ownership, game theory, just stuff like that. I think Hurts will be the most popular. I think A.J. Brown will be a very popular pairing with them, with just not many options. And the dude's been a complete stud this year. Then I think it goes CeeDee Lamb on the other side, coming off a massive game as well, and not many spend ups. Like, I don't think I think it's Hurts and A.J. Brown way ahead of CeeDee. Like, I'm not grouping him in that tier of ownership, but he's going to be played for sure. Best game environment. People want exposure to it. We just saw last week what he did. So I think he gets ownership. Pollard more on FanDuel than DK, but I still think he gets a decent amount on DK as well. And outside of that, yeah, don't really think outside of that ownership you really have to worry about. Swift, maybe we'll get some, but not enough. I think Swift's interesting for leverage off the passing game. Hurts hasn't used his legs. You guys will probably touch on that. It was in your tidbits, but hasn't used his legs as much, which, I mean, if you're finding ways or reasons to fade a really chalky QB, especially in smaller field stuff, it's going to be inflated even more. You get all the leverage of Swift, who's actually good. The price is right, which will keep the ownership down. But I think he's very interesting flipping the build that way. I love the tight ends, though, Ferguson and Goddard, because I do think they are overlooked a little bit. Again, they're going to get some ownership, but I like Dak. I like Hurts. If you don't play A.J. Brown, you don't play CeeDee, you fill out a really bad tight end position. And both guys have shown they have upside. So I really like the tight end. Probably my favorite plays at their ownership in this game. Pollard, like, man, the price on FanDuel is kind of like when I'm talking about the price on Jacobs on DK. I'll reluctantly click the name. Probably going to burn me. They're finally healthy. Like, the offensive line is there. It's just, I know he's explosive. It's a tough matchup. He just hasn't done anything or shown me any signs of life. But the role is still good, and they keep trotting him out there a ton. But, yeah, I want your guys' take on Hurts, because right now I have a lot. He's going to be the most popular quarterback. Do we just go like the Lamars, the Howells, the Bryce Youngs, and like they can definitely match him? I think Lamar even has more upside probably than Hurts with how he's played this year. But yeah, it's the premier game. It's going to be the most popular game. And you're talking late swap and all that. And yeah, definitely important, King of the Beach and stuff. Just be prepared for it. If you have a really bad team or something and you have chalk pieces, A.J. Brown, Hurts, and that, you're going to have to swap to some other stuff. You can swap to the other side with Dallas. You mentioned the swap last game as well. So what side do I prefer? Probably the Eagles side. Like the tight ends the most. Swift's really interesting, though, for direct leverage off the passing game.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for me before I go to hoop. Like, man, this is just making me – the more we talk about it that way, makes me think just to bury my Deshaun lineup and just make it a Lamar lineup, because Lamar might just get the job done very early in the day and make it so you're just sitting up at the top of this thing, letting everybody play catch up, and then watch a guy like Swift and a guy like – you need like Swift Ferguson or something like that in the afternoon. And that's really what's needed from that game. I could definitely see it. Obviously, overstacking this a ton. Got a bunch of interest on FanDuel. On FanDuel, you can get guys like Cooks, Gallup, super cheap. Ferguson's cheap over there. Like, you can really stack this up over on FanDuel even quite a bit easier. I like it on DraftKings for sure, but I'm on the Dak side. I think this is one of the other things, Hoop, I'll say before I kick it to you. But man, there's two things actually. One, when you have a slate that people call gross or tough or whatever, however you want to picture it and look at it, some people love it because if it's gross, we can do other things and win tournaments with that in mind. But sometimes the answer is just to play the spot. And like, if Sam Howell just crushed Philly like this, and now you got Dak playing great, Lamb coming off like a career game, you can just play those two guys, mix in like a Goddard or something along those lines and build out. It feels like a pretty good spot to start. And you were the guy, playing Dak last week. Where's your head at with this one coming into this spot? What do you like within this game, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, on the Dallas side, early in the week, I wasn't as high on Dak in Dallas, but the more I kind of looked at it, the more I kind of, looked at the slate, I started to like it a little bit more for a few reasons. Like, number one, in terms of the passing game, like, you don't need to worry about the ownership. Like, we saw it last week. Dak was in a really good spot last week, a spot that everyone really liked him. He's like 6 or 7% owned. So that's one thing that immediately stands out to me in this game is I think the quarterbacks come in lower owned than people think, even Hurts, which we'll talk about in a second. But on the Dallas side specifically, we know Pollard's going to be popular on FanDuel because it's a 6.6K price tag. He has not been very good this season. But man, like, the role has remained unchanged, and you kind of just have to, plug your nose and click the button on Pollard and hope it goes well. But in terms of the passing, like, nothing is going to be popular. And, there's a lot of different ways this offense gets there. So Dak coming in pretty, I'd say, lowish owned, single digits. You got CeeDee Lamb, who is going to be overshadowed by probably A.J. Brown in terms of spending up at the wide receiver position. I don't think his ownership's all that crazy. Then you get two cheap wide receivers with upside in Cooks and Gallup, and then tight end we don't like. Well, how about Ferguson, who gets a ton of red zone looks and has been productive this year? So I like Dallas a lot more today than I did 3 days ago. So I'll be in on the Cowboys side. And then on the Eagles side, like I said, quarterback always gets spread out. I've been saying this for years. I've been nonstop hammering this point. It just remains undefeated, where quarterback ownership gets spread out. Yes, Hurts will be the highest owned quarterback on the slate, but what is that number? Like, how high is it? So I don't know, like, in a spot where he could just dust the quarterback position, especially in 150, I'm fine getting overweight on Hurts. Now, the one thing I will say is a lot of these teams that go Hurts are just going to automatically plug in A.J. Brown, and I don't think you need to do that today. There's other options. I'm going to keep playing Devonta Smith over the field. I did it last week. I've done it the previous 5 weeks, whatever. I'm going to keep doing it. Like, I'll play Devonta Smith a lot. I'll play Dallas Goedert a ton, who I love today. When you're looking at tight end, like, choosing between Goddard and Hawkinson. Hawkinson's projecting like way better than Goddard. I'll take Goddard straight up over Hawkinson today at a similar price tag. And then DeAndre Swift, I think great. One of you guys mentioned it, great leverage play in this game. If you're underweight in this game, play Pollard, or if you have lineups without pieces of this game, play Pollard and Swift and hope you get a running back and forth. So a lot of different ways to go. And, again, I don't think it's a spot where we need to be overly concerned with ownership. A.J. Brown's will be popular on both sites. He's the only standout wide receiver spend. Pollard on FanDuel will get ownership because of the price tag. Hurts will get owned on both sites, but I think it comes in lower than we're projecting. But then all the other spots, man, I really like this game overall. And a lot of people do. There's no doubt about it, but I don't think the ownership follows as much as people think that is going to follow.
Yeah, two last things. One is more of like a back of my mind situation is Tony Pollard's upcoming schedule. I'm not a season-long guy, but you see the posts everywhere where he's got a wicked schedule coming up, great matchups. He's supposed to crush. We always see it happen 1 week earlier, so I like that for the afternoon stuff. Like you said, if you can just if you're not in good shape or you want to move, I don't mind playing Pollard regardless, just because of that spot. Like, you can definitely see it where it happens a little bit earlier. Finally has his big game. Dallas comes out and gets the job done, something along those lines. I like even mentioning, like you said, the Pollard, Devonta Smith, a Pollard with Swift on the other side. Like, do it that way. You can definitely do it. So I see that. And then secondly, too, this is why I mentioned the late swap factor of it, is I think a lot of what's going to happen on this slate is controlled in the morning. right? We've already talked through it, but you've got Kamara, Singletary. You're going to have all the other guys that we mentioned in the Washington New England game with Douglas and McLaurin and all that. So, the plays that people are on heavy and the chalk in the morning, you're going to kind of know when it gets to the afternoon if you're in good shape or not. And on a late swap slate like this, where there's 3 pretty good games in the afternoon, you might want to look ahead on a slate where we have pretty much all the news to find this stuff out. And that's what I've done today, especially with King of the Beach in mind. So just keep that in mind for yourself. You can look ahead and start to say, okay, if this goes bad, then what does this look like? I can change off these guys and go to that. And that's how I like to look at things and try and have an angle in to the afternoon to try and find that spot. Title, anything else? Or Hoop, did you have something to add? I thought you were coming off mute for a reason to say, go ahead. Title, anything else to add on just that, the slate dynamics of the late swap and this being the big total and all of that factor?
Yeah, not every NFL. I mean, you should always be weary of late swap in all sports that offer it, and if you're blocked out and stuff like that. But not all NFL slates are created equal with that. Like we saw the JSN news a couple weeks back, what it was, where like DK Lockett, that's kind of rare, where you don't have the injury news and it changes all of it. But some slates, all the good games are in the 1 p.m. game, so there's not really much flexibility in the late swap. Today with the premier game, Philly and Dallas, you do have to be thinking about that. And especially, obviously, we're very small people probably watching this are in King of the Beach or a little thing like that. But and stuff like that, it's even more important. But yeah, it's a fun slate. It really is. That is the premier game. But what is it, a 47.5 total or something? 47 total. Like, there's a lot of ways you can go. I really like the Sam Howell stuff. I like Mac Jones too. So I really like that game. More we talked about it, maybe a little more Bryce Young for me. I think we broke down pretty good on this slate. A lot of cross-off spots for me. A lot of bad offenses that I just completely X out that I don't even have to worry about them. But yeah, good luck to yourself, Tambo, King of the Beach. Anybody else out there? I know Lay the House, Chad, a lot of members. A good amount of SHIPIT Nation people in there. So, hey, good luck. Hopefully a couple people get to Miami.
Yeah, B. Miller, Chad Candles, Rob, Lay the House RM. You got you, Marley, myself, our guy Nebs in Discord now. There's lots of action for us in that King of the Beach today. Just got to come top 75 of the top 250. We'll post the link out when it gets going. You guys know what you're sweating with me. Disappointing on the likes today, Hoopster. We had a lot. We have almost 600 people watching. We had an additional 400 we could have given away today, and we're only going to get to another 100 of that, it looks like, because I'm going to save our guy that from earlier, Andrew. I'm going to save his $100 to give away on Monday Night Football. I'm going to do that for a member for sure. And then we're not going to hit to the 500, so there's nothing there as well. Barely going to hit the 350. So we'll do another $100 giveaway before we get out of here. But Hoop, give us your final thoughts on this slate before we roll out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks gross on paper. I mean, you start looking at some of these totals, some of these spots. I mean, it's definitely a nasty one. But I think, man, there's some good underlying spots here that we can attack and take advantage of. And again, in terms of what we're doing at SHIPIT Nation, all our content is up. It's up early so you guys can digest it all. The cores are there, the player pool, the slate plan, cash cores, everything you need. And I don't know, I feel like we've been saying this for about 3 or 4 weeks. You can feel the momentum starting to build, and massive week last week. And I think it only gets better today. I mean, it's hard. It's going to be hard to beat what we did last week. But I just feel so good about everything going on. I mean, the chemistry, camaraderie, everything, man, just adding up and people winning life-changing money. I just really feel good about seeing it again today. I mean, we keep talking about it, but, man, it's like good things happen to good people. You surround yourself with like-minded individuals. It just adds up to a lot of success. And I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker by any means, but, man, it's been playing out like that lately. And I feel really passionately about it. And again, I think we have another big day today and more life-changing money for our members and our team over here.
Yeah, look at that. All that yapping, and we got done the show 10 minutes earlier than usual still. So it is what it is. Like you said, I'm super excited about what we have going on. The momentum story has been there. We've seen it. It's not some made-up thing. And I always use the example, who talked to you offline, says the same thing. It's like going to the gym. Like when somebody goes to the gym and it's all people there that are working out to be in a bodybuilding show, it's intimidating. You're like, man, they got the equipment I want to use. I want to get in shape, but it's like kind of scary because you don't know if they're going to help you. You don't know what the community or the aspect of that gym is going to be like. And then you have to pay more for a personal trainer once you're in the gym and find somebody to lead you, a nutritionist on this angle and all that. And I use this analogy because it's the same thing we got going on at SHIPIT Nation. When you get inside, it's not intimidating. We have all the equipment, the tools, rankings, projections, ownership that you need. You don't pay extra on top of your membership to talk with Hoop, Title, myself, the rest of our team, and all the people that are already in there that have been getting in shape bankroll-wise before you that can help get your bankroll in shape too, give you those tips and feedback and things that you need. So don't have to keep showing the site to tell you this. It's by far the best value on the market for everything that's included. You can use the promo code Mayo when you get in there and start getting your bankroll in shape. If you don't want to go to the gym and get your actuals up, do both. Why not both? But I'm saying get in there, check it out. Hoop, I'm going to give away the final $100 to our guy Gary Dunn because he's got the nostalgia. He remembers the Renfro jersey. He's been with us for a while, even before this venture. So definitely appreciate Gary. Gary, you can hit me up, info@shipitnation.com. You are the final $100 winner of the day.
Yeah.
We got some members giveaways. So any members watching, don't feel left out. We're going to have some other ones for you guys special that we've got for you probably tomorrow night for Monday Night Football. Go ahead, Hoop. Hop in.
Just one more thing. Nick Smith, who won earlier, he hit me up in Discord and he has won previously. So he's on a different YouTube and he said he wants to pay it forward, that $100 to another person in YouTube. And I'm going to give it to our guy, Joe's Madness. He's been in here, just a kind message nonstop throughout the show, getting people to hit the like. So we really appreciate his support. Low stakes guy. He said 10 cent, 25 cent contest. We'll give you an opportunity to play for a little bit more today with $100.
That's awesome. Yeah. Nice. Shout out to Joe. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Huge day ahead. We'll get the link out so you can follow along for the King of the Beach stuff. It's going to be an awesome Week 9 slate. Appreciate everybody that watched, all the support in here. We'll be in the Discord with the members. The content is up on the site. Go to shipitnation.com. Use promo code Mayo to get 10% off. For Title, for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.